Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lora Rolling and this is part 4 of the purple butterfly ornament tutorial. This is the purple butterfly ornament that we are making. It is so cute and colorful. And today we're doing the triangle called Small Flowers. If you haven't seen parts 1, 2, and 3, that's okay. You can do these out of order. I'll have those 3 videos listed down below in the description, so once you finish this one, you can go back and watch those. We just have a few materials to get ready, so let's get them listed and then we can get started. Let's go. So the beads that we're going to use today are all Miyuki Delicas. I have opaque yellow AB, dyed silver lined bright fuchsia, dyed silver lined violet, silver lined green, opaque carnation, and white pearl. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to call this yellow, hot pink, dark purple, green, pink, and white. We're also going to need some beading thread and a beading needle. I like to use the Eslon Fire in the color Crystal, and I use the 4-pound. You can also use a 6-pound thread if you like. I also like to use a size 10 beading needle, and you could also use a size 12. It's a little smaller. For implements, I like to use my long nose pliers to hold on to my thread towards the end of the video, and I cut my thread with scissors. To end my tail in the very beginning, I'm going to use the fire method, and I will show you how to do that today. Of course, we're going to also need a plastic crafting ornament to bead around. We're not going to actually use this in today's video, but to complete the entire project, you'll want to get your hands on one of them. I buy them in the 12-pack at my local hobby store. If you just want to find one, I do sell them individually in my Etsy shop. This is a 2.36-inch plastic crafting ornament. Alrighty, so that's what we'll need to do today's video to complete this triangle. So let's thread our needle with 3 feet of thread and then we can get started. Okay, so I have threaded my needle and I'm ready to pick up my first 3 beads. Let's pick up 3 yellow beads. I'm going to pull these 3 beads all the way down to the bottom of my thread, leaving about a 6-inch tail. And I'm going to tie a square knot. So that means I'm going to cross on top and pull my tail through. And then I'm going to cross on top again and pull my tail through. So you should have what looks like a little snowman. Now I put 2 fingers in the bottom loop, the one that has the beads in it, and then I tighten the top loop until it's a little knot. Now I have my tail, and I'm not going to touch it to the flame. I'm just going to get it super close until it melts it. And it melts it into this teensy little bead at the end of the thread. So now I'm going to take the long part of the thread and twisting the circle with my 2 fingers, we're going to get that little knot that we just singed to meet the long thread. Then I'm going to take my thumbnail and I'm going to pull that little knot down to the 3 beads, making like a little triangle. And then I'm going to try to tug it to one side so that it looks like the thread is coming out of one of the beads. So now let's pick up 2 more yellow beads. And since it looks like we're coming out of this bead, let's sew through the bead that it's not coming out of. And then we try to get those beads to set right on top of their buddies. Now let's pick up 2 more yellow beads. And coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next. And once again, trying to make those beads sit right on top of their buddies. Let's pick up 2 more yellow beads. Coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next, and we're also going to sew through the one below that. So we're sewing through 2 beads this time, and when we do that, we're going to refer to that as stepping up, because what we're doing is we're putting our thread in position to start the next row. So we've completed row number 2. Let's move on to row number 3 by picking up 2 yellow beads. Coming out of this bead, we're going to sew through the next. Now let's pick up 1 yellow bead. Coming out of this bead, we're going to skip the one that's kind of set down. We're going to sew through the one that's sticking up. That's our up bead. Now let's pick up 2 yellow beads. Coming out of this one, let's sew through the next. Let's pick up 1 yellow bead. Skipping the down bead, let's sew through the up bead. I turn my work as I go in my hand so that it's easier for me to sew with my right hand. Let's pick up 2 more yellow beads and sew through the next. And pick up 1 yellow bead. This is the last bead in this row. We're going to skip the down bead. We're going to sew through the up bead and also the one below it. So we're sewing through 2 beads, stepping up to row number 4. Let's start with 2 yellow beads and sew through the next. Pick up 1 yellow, sew through the up. Pick up 1 yellow and sew through the up. If you notice, I am going off of a pattern, and I do have my pattern listed. It's downloadable and printable. It's in my Etsy shop, so that is listed down below in the description. So you just click on my Etsy shop link, and then you can instantly download and print it, and that way you have this pattern in front of you if that works better for you. Or you can just continue to follow along with this video, or you can do both, whatever works for you. Alrighty, let's pick up 2 yellow beads and sew through the next. Making sure those beads are sitting right on top of their buddies. Let's pick up 1 yellow, sew through the next. 1 yellow and sew through the next. Always sewing through those up beads. If you notice, we're making a little triangle, so on the corners we always add 2 beads. Let's add 2 yellow beads. Let's add 1 yellow. And our last bead in this row is 1 yellow. Sewing through 2 beads. And now we are ready to start row number 5. Let's start with 2 yellow beads. I know it's a lot of yellows, but we're just about to get to some colors other than yellow. one yellow, and one hot pink. One yellow. At the corner, let's add two yellows. One yellow. One green. One yellow. At the corner, let's add two yellows. One yellow. And one dark purple. The last bead in this row is one yellow. Let's sew through two beads. And now we're ready to start row number 6. Let's start with two yellow beads. One yellow. One hot pink. One hot pink. One yellow. At the corner, two yellow beads. One yellow. One green. One green. One yellow. One pink and one yellow. Now this is that softer pink. Alrighty, let's pick up one yellow, one dark purple, one dark purple, and one yellow. Sewing through two beads. That completes row 6. Let's start row 7. Let's start row 7 with two yellow beads. One yellow. One yellow. One white. One yellow. One yellow. On the corner, we'll pick up one dark purple and one yellow. One yellow. One yellow. One white bead. One yellow. 1 yellow, 2 yellow beads, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 white, 1 yellow, 1 yellow. Sewing through 2 beads. This completes our 7th row, and this is actually the top of our triangle. This is the top tier in our project, so we're not going to add any more beads on top. So what we're going to do is, without picking up any beads, we're just going to sew through the next bead, and that puts our thread in position to start row number 8. Let's start with 1 yellow bead, 1 yellow, 1 hot pink, 1 hot pink, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 2 yellow beads, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 green, 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 2 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 dark purple, 1 dark purple, 1 yellow, 1 green. This is the last bead in row number 8. So this is the top of the triangle. What we're going to do is we're going to just turn the triangle over. I'm going to push my dent because that's where my thumb fits perfectly. And now we get to start row number 9 by adding, we're already in position, by adding 1 yellow bead, sewing through that green bead that we just added. 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 dark purple, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 2 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 green, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 2 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 hot pink, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, and 1 yellow. You'll notice that there is no extra bead up here to sew through. So we've got our last bead in row number 9. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sew down this top bead. And then we're going to make sure that this bead sits where it's supposed to. It sits right into place. Now we're coming out of this bead, so we're going to sew through the bead right above that one. And now we're going to sew in the opposite direction in the bead right next to the one we're coming out of. Now let's sew in through that first bead that we sewed down. And now we get to sew through the bead that we just added, turning our triangle back over. I'm going to push the dent through so my thumb fits nice and snug. And now we are in position to start row number 10. Let's start with 1 yellow. This whole row is going to be yellow beads. So if you want to turn down the volume, you can do that if my yellows get annoying to you. 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, although some people think that it sounds like ASMR, right? 2 yellow, 1 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 yellow, 2 yellow beads, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, 1 yellow, and 1 yellow. We're back at the top of our triangle. So what we're going to do is we're just going to turn it over, push our dent in, and now we are ready to start row number 11, which is also all yellow beads. Let's start with 1 yellow, 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 1 yellow. At the corner, let's add 2 yellow beads. Oops, I have a little knot. Let's see if I can smooth that out. There we go. And I'm all twisted up. There we go. Alrighty, back on track. Let's add 1 yellow, 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 2 yellows, 1 yellow, 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 and 1 yellow. Remembering that we don't have a bead to sew through this way, so we're going to have to turn it and sew down this top bead, making sure that that new bead is in place. Let's sew down the middle bead in this second row. Sew up the bead right next to that one, and sew up the middle bead in the top row. Now we can sew down the bead that we just added, turn our triangle over, and push our little dent in for our thumb. Now we get to start row number 12, which once again is all yellow beads. So let's add 1 yellow, 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 1 yellow. At the corner, we'll add 2 yellows, 1 yellow, 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 1 yellow. At the corner, let's add 2 yellow, 1 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 yellow, and 1 yellow. Flipping our triangle over, we're coming out of this top bead. We have completed our 12 rows, and now we get to add our connection rows. If this is the first triangle that you've done with me, you'll see that we have connection beads on some sides and then no connection beads on other sides. So in this case, each triangle is different, but in this triangle's case, we are going to have connection beads on the right side, we're going to have connection beads on the bottom, and we're not going to have connection beads on the left. So let's start this side. We're already in position to add our connection beads, and we're going to start with 1 yellow. They're all yellow, by the way, all the way down this side. 1 yellow, 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 and 1 yellow. Now on the corners, we're going to cap off the points with 1 bead. We're going to cap it off with 1 white bead, making it turn into a point. Now we're going to add all yellows across our bottom row. So 1 yellow, 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 and 1 last yellow. We're going to cap this side by adding 1 white bead. And now we need to secure this white bead. But before we do that, let's do our emoji of the day. Let's add a flower emoji in the comments. So just any flower, whatever one is your favorite. My favorite lately has been, oh, what is it called? It's the pink tulip. I love that tulip emoji. Anyways, okay, so we're coming out of this bead. We're just going to sew up 6 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I say up because this is actually the top of the triangle. So we're sewing up to the top. Okay, now we're going to zigzag. We're coming out of this bead. We're going to sew down the bead right next to it. And we're going to sew up the bead right next to that one. Now we're going to sew up 2 beads. Oh, I caught them both at the same time. And then we're going to zigzag again. We're coming out of the top of this one. We're going to sew down the one right next to it and up the one right next to that one. What we're doing is we are hiding our thread. At the same time, we are strengthening this last bead that we just put in. We don't want that to get loose. So now let's just sew up 2 more beads and then we can cut our thread. Alrighty, so I feel like that bead is super secure. Let's pick up our thread with our long nose pliers and then take our scissors and we're going to get as close as possible to the bead, and without cutting it, of course. Don't cut the bead, just cut the thread. And now we have completed our number 4 unit, which is the triangle called small flowers. We only need 5 of these, so go ahead and do this 4 more times and I will see. That was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here with me today and beading along with me. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified when the next video comes out. I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.